Hello, everybody. Boy, do I have a great episode for you today. I am with Chef David Burke, and perhaps you've been in one of his many restaurants, or maybe you attempted to cook a meal from one of his cookbooks, or perhaps you've seen him on TV, or benefited from one of his charitable offerings that he's done for a variety of people over the years in his communities. A little known fact, we share the same birthday, but I'm older. I don't know if he knew that, but he does know it now. So please welcome Chef David Burke.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
We're both February 27th babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jimi Hendrix is February 27th.
Oh, boy.
There's a couple of people there. I forget exactly who they are.
Yeah. Elizabeth Taylor, I think,
leap
too.
Year. Yes. Almost leap year.
Yeah, we're... So tell me, you are truly one of the iconic chefs in the country, and I could probably then say the world, because if you make it to the top in the United States, you're
well, New York's hard.
New York is hard.
Yes, it is.
And you have a few restaurants here. Mm-hmm. Tell us, give everybody, we know you weren't an overnight rock star. Mm-hmm. There was a history that built up to this, which is what we were talking earlier before the start. Everyone wants to believe everyone else is an overnight rock star, but we know this isn't true. So can you give us a bit of your history?
Yeah. I currently have 2 restaurants in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to New York City in 1984. I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Jersey, started cooking in Jersey in the 70s when it wasn't cool to be a chef, when it was a bad decision to be a chef. A bad career move. They didn't even consider it a career. It wasn't even a profession until 78. It wasn't recognized as a professional job. Anyway, went to college for cooking, the CIA, great school, moved to Europe.
But wait a second, before you just steamroll over that, what was it appealed to you about cooking? Food?
My mother worked in a motor inn hotel, pretty good one actually, in Homedale, New Jersey, near the Performing Arts Center. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, I was cutting lawns and stuff, and then I'd go into the kitchen to get my lunch and all that. And my mother's cousin was like a cook in there. He's a hippie, and there's a few hippies and Vietnam vets and stuff in there, all having a blast. They were the big brothers, like they were the older guys. I was probably 15 or 14 or 15, whatever. I was a freshman. That's what I was in high school. And I thought it was just it was like MASH, It was like a bunch of guys, but they worked together so beautifully. And again, I was a young kid. I had a paper route. I had jobs, but, and finally they had an opening as a dishwasher. I'm like, you know what, I'll do that. I want to hang out with these guys. And they laughed. They loved each other. They bust chops. Mm-hmm. And, they had a few beers and this. But at 5 o'clock, when the whistle blew for dinner, man, they were on it. And they put out beautiful food. Like, Danny was a chef. He was a Marine, and he had it together. Handsome guy. Had a couple of vets, a couple of hot babes. I was like, I want to be like Danny.
Okay, now we're getting a little color here.
I was like, and I'd watch from behind a dish machine. I'm a good worker anyway. I've always been a good worker. So I'd get everything done, and then I'd start to help, learn how to make a club sandwich and a salad. And something so fundamental today to me was such a joy to learn how to make. If you never saw a club sandwich like piled high with fries and the skewers in it as a kid,
they're beautiful.
It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't a country club kid. We didn't go to those kind of places. So I kept learning and thinking. And I said, I want to learn how to cook. Okay. So they had no turnover back then. People were loyal. They didn't quit over $2.50 an hour. They stayed with that crew, and so I had to go somewhere else. And then I said I wanted to be a chef. I started really studying a little more. I signed up for some cooking classes at a local mall, and I got bit by this whole camaraderie and sense of accomplishment on a daily basis. It was. I looked at making food like some kids my age looked at construction. They made stuff. I was making stuff.
Yeah.
I was also getting to eat it, but I was making stuff, and it was on your feet. It was energetic. There was something very intriguing to me about the teamwork in the kitchen and how people, because you wouldn't see that driving by
Right.
a construction site or an auto mechanic or a doctor's office you don't see that. It was like Broadway a little too.
Yeah.
And it was like being in a locker room or in a sporting event. It was a team. And that was really what was.
I can picture that. I love the restaurants or the diners where you can sit at a counter and watch the kitchen. It's remarkable. It's like a dance you're watching. Precision.
There's a lot of stress, but there's humor, there's wackiness, there's creativity, there's kindness. There's a lot of different things. It's mostly, it's exhilarating. It's not easy, but when it's part of your life, after so many years, you grow to expect. You live with the stress. And what stresses some people out doesn't stress others because it's experience. You know that it's going to be okay. Yes, it sucks for now, but we'll get through this. There's problems with our industry in regard to loyalty and lack of commitment when it comes to long-term employees because there's very few pensions and 401ks, and there's no reason for someone not to quit. If they have a better offer. There's nothing weighing them down. I say, well, I'm going to lose my pension or I'm going to lose my tenure. It doesn't exist really.
Right.
That's why the transients, and that's one of the negative things about it. So that I started young. I graduated high school in 3 years. I was a smart kid. I had my long hair, my easy widers in the back pocket and this stuff as a typical 70s kid. But I liked getting out of school early. I had a good memory. I could memorize the test in a minute. And I could read well in math. So I was good at a lot of subjects. But creativity was my thing. And then I started working. So my senior year of high school, I got to work at a country club, really good one, before I went to cooking college. And then I was off to the races. It was like I was into it. And then I got lucky enough to do well in school. I moved to Dallas for my internship, got me a little travel. Then I moved to Europe. I got selected to work in a very wealthy man's home, a family outside of in Oslo, Norway, which, interestingly enough, got me to Europe. Then I took a month off after that summer of working in the mansion to travel through France and Italy and Holland and Germany and eating and backpacking and I realized I didn't eat in the best restaurants because I didn't have a lot of money. But I looked in the windows and I was like, I want to work here one day. But I realized I could go to France and get by without speaking French. Like I could go work in a kitchen there and not be completely moronic. Because that's what happens here. The most welcoming place I've ever seen is a kitchen. Because we have immigrants come and work, and they don't speak English, and we teach them. Right. Teach them how to work. Here's a task. You do that. Pay attention. Use your eyes and your ears and pay attention, and start working. And that's kind of the hospitality end of some of it. So when I came back, I got a job up in La Cremaillère, up in Banksville, working Wally Malouf. I got that job through the connectivity of the owner of. In Norway, he lived in Greenwich. He said, I got this great French restaurant. They might need a guy. That's how I got there. From there, I got to Daniel Blute at the Plaza Athénée in 1984 before he went to Le Cirque. Then I went to the River Cafe as a sous chef.
Oh, my gosh. All top names, one after another.
Well, they're all connected. The chefs all know each other in the top places. And then back then, you picked up the phone and said, hey, I need a guy. You didn't have Indeed ads. And there was no, the ad, it was word of mouth. You didn't burn a bridge. You burned a bridge. You didn't have reference. And nowadays, it's easier because people don't really check references. We're so desperate in our business. If you shake somebody's hand, they got a pulse, you're like, you're hired. We need, because we need so many workers and people come and go.
Right. So you were at the River Cafe?
At the River as a sous chef with Charlie. Then I moved back to France, went to pastry school, worked in some good restaurants. I wanted to learn pastry because I didn't know it well. And I did learn it well. And then I came back.
You won some awards for that, I believe.
I came back and took over the River Cafe. Charlie Palmer went to open Oriole. And I stayed. Buzzy O'Keefe gave me the opportunity. I was 26. I was a kid. I can't believe I did that at that age.
All that by age 26, you had worked with.
No, but I was running a place.
Oh
I was in New York. It's one of the best restaurants in the city. And I said, I don't know if I can do this, Buzzy. He said, you can do it. You're doing it, kind of doing it now. I said, well, what I told him was I needed to go learn pastry. So he paid for my school in Paris.
Wow.
Because we had a few months before the other chef had left because he was under contract. So I moved to France. I lived on a barge, went to school, worked in bakery, worked my ass off. And I studied pastry. And I worked in some good places. And I came back and really changed the look of desserts with it, as well as Jacques Torres and some other great pastry chefs at the time, of taking the old pastry cart from the French and putting it onto a plate with design. And, I created the cake pop years later, too.
Yes.
That was another decade. So pastry is exciting to me. So then I get to the River Cafe, and we're doing well. We get great reviews. And then I represent the U.S. in the Olympics in Tokyo, still at that year. And we went to two really prestigious medals. And that kind of started the whole who was this guy down at the River Cafe, this kid cooking. And then, back then you had
Wait a second. There's a cooking Olympics?
There was.
Really?
It was the Nippon Culinary Award of Excellence, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was 15 countries. And somehow through certain people, I was nominated and represented a great American restaurant, River Cafe, and an American chef. That was my first chef job. So I was lucky to get it, but I was doing interesting food. I had my own style because I worked in good French restaurants. I worked for Charlie. And I was like, you know what? If I'm working for a great chef like Charlie Palmer and I take his job, what am I going to do to make it better? I mean, it's a tough question.
It's a big question.
How is my steak going to be better? How's my creme brulee going to be better? So I got to think a lot. I got to create like the style, the design. You can't change the recipe. You can, but how does it look better? Accessories, right? Style, design, flavor profiles, outside the box thinking. And now the River Cafe is the best view in America. People came there to get married and get engaged and romance, and they want to look out the window. Now, how do I get them to look at my plate? So I have to architecturally make my food really stimulating visually, and it's got to taste good because I want the food to be the star, not the view. I asked Buzzy to put curtains up one day. He laughed so loud. Well, and so that's how these little nuances shape your style.
Right.
Like, okay, well, if there's a high rise across the street to look at, I'm going to make my food high. Right? Or I'm going to make something architectural. I'm going to I made a chocolate Brooklyn Bridge, which is still on the menu. I sold the Brooklyn Bridge many times. for a lot of money. A chocolate Brooklyn Bridge for $2 is still on the menu. Because it's that sense of creativity. It's like, you know what? Think of a way to say, listen, how about I sell you the Brooklyn Bridge tonight? And he did. And people liked it. So that was my right place, right time, right opportunity, hard work paying off years. Very young. But again, I was scared. Fear is a great motivator. And it really is, because you're afraid to fail. And you're afraid, and you know what? It's like playing baseball. That pitch is coming fast. You better swing. Right? And it was scary.
Yeah.
And
because you're playing, at a very young age, you're playing in really big leagues.
No, this is not like, oh, well, he's young. You don't give him a bad review. You're putting you got that stick on your shoulder now. It's like, knock it off. And the critics
are brutal.
Back then, you went and waited for the New York Times to come out that night. You waited till it came off the press and read your reviews. You wouldn't take a day off till you got reviewed. You work 95 days in a row because you're afraid a critic's going to come in and you're not there. So it was obsessive.
Hold on, I want to ask you a question about that. I don't know if now's the time, but we went from New York Times kind of reviewer could make or break a restaurant. Right. Now you have things like Yelp.
Yeah.
How does that work for you I know we're kind of jumping, but I can't resist asking.
The problem with the social media reviews is that everyone's a critic.
Yeah.
So someone might think it's expensive, and it's not.
Right.
Because it's expensive
it's relative.
for them.
Right.
Right? Or they might think something's not good because they don't really know what a good crab cake is. Or they don't like you.
Right.
Right? Or they don't like your attitude, or they don't like your hair color.
Really tough when you get into that massive.
Your competitor can come in and give you a bad Yelp review. Anonymous.
Anonymous.
It's kind of
very
But
weaselly.
nobody, there's, you can Yelp review your doctor, but I don't think it's a smart idea. But anonymous reviews should not be allowed.
Yeah.
They really should.
I agree.
But that's the world we live in now. Everyone's a critic. And so it's, and then you have other reviews where if you advertise with them, they'll take down your bad reviews. So it's a play to pay gig. And everything's about money.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's about money. So
that is so true.
the problem
I see that
with
in
a Yelp
PR.
review and some of these social media, the reels and the influencers, they don't really have a budget to review good restaurants.
Yeah.
They want a free meal, and they'll give you a good review. Or you pay them, and they'll give you a good review. They don't mention a wine
I can
list.
say I have been happy to pay for your burgers, and you make a great
a
burger. You make great salmon, too. I've had both of those.
You make a lot of good stuff. But you got to make a good burger. Somebody
Really
said
good
that to
burger.
me last night. I did a meat. We did a meat lecture at my restaurant in Rumson, New Jersey, Red Horse.
Yeah, I've been
there.
there.
Local meat guy from Monmouth Meats in Red Bank. And we lectured about meat. And the one guy kept saying, "You got the best burger."
You do.
And he goes, I eat your burger. Even though I go to your restaurant, I want a piece of Dover sole or steak. I'm like, the burger's the best. Anyway, the interview, the critic part, years ago, a good critic, they had a budget from the New York Times, New York Magazine, Forbes, whatever. They had a budget. They would rate the wine list, the decor, right? The waiter uniforms, the service, and the food, and in general, how you answer the phone. Nowadays, no. They talk about an espresso martini with their Caesar salad. It's not even compatible.
Yeah.
Right? It's amateurish, a lot of it. Oh, I had the best espresso martini and a Caesar salad and a chicken parmesan to die for. And that same influencer says that 20 times in a 2-month period about 20 different restaurants.
Yeah.
Right. And puts a paycheck in his or her pocket. So you got to read between the lines a little bit, but it sends people to these places. Everyone runs back and forth. And then they wind up settling back into what they think is their best perceived value. And again, like we said earlier, before we were talking earlier about the people that aren't the youngsters that drink less. They're not that interested in the wine list.
Right.
They like cocktails. They like gummies. They want to eat. They'll split an appetizer.
And it's a big thing in a restaurant on how someone curated, let's say, their wine list.
Oh, yeah.
Does it have a range of prices,
Right.
And is that lower bottle price, does it taste as good as what you're hoping it's going to taste like, if that's what your budget is, or your middle, or whatever, it's...
Wine lists can be intimidating
for
diners because you don't want to buy the cheapest bottle, right? Maybe you do.
Yeah.
Wine's by the glass. And what has happened because of the economics of the restaurant industry, unless you're a fine dining restaurant or a very busy one, the sommeliers have gone. Right? They're intimidating for most people. The great restaurants have them, and they're wonderful. And most managers don't know the same amount about wine as a sommelier.
Right.
So somebody writes a list. The waiters hopefully know enough about wine. And people are usually looking at a label, and they can Google it now and see what the real price is. That seems like I wouldn't do that on a date. But cocktails are easy. And wines by the glass are easy. But having a good wine list is a nice sign of a good restaurant.
Now, I'm curious, how did you get to your first restaurant?
Huh?
How did you come to having your first restaurant?
I was at the River Cafe.
Yeah?
And I got a call from Alan Stillman. I was supposed to open a restaurant with Drew Neaperon, I'm sure you know.
Sure.
And De Niro. And we were going to open a restaurant on Park Ave South. We were going to open 2 restaurants. And the funding never came through, and it took too long. So, and then Drew, somehow the press got word that I was leaving the River Cafe. Buzzy and I sat down and said, let's finish the year because now everybody knows you're leaving. So, so 4 months later or something, after Christmas, I left. And I still didn't have a gig going. And because the deal with those 2 guys wasn't happening, then Alan Stillman called me. Alan's the founder of TJ Fridays and Smith Walensky. Oh, and he had an opportunity for me as a partner in Park Avenue Cafe, 63rd and Park. And so we did that deal. And he was a wonderful partner, and he taught me a lot about business, et cetera. And boy, did we have a good run. We did 10 years together. We opened Park Avenue Cafe. I created the Swordfish Shop and the cake pop there and pastrami salmon. And then we opened Bologna Porcelli.
Yeah.
And we did the pork shank one, best dish in America. After fighting with him and the other executive committee partners they were like, you can't put pork on the menu. Mm-hmm. I said, come on. I said, and I was getting really pissed off. And they're like, no one eats pork in New York at a high-end steakhouse. I said, bull. And they were like, okay, put it on the menu for 2 months. If it doesn't sell, we take it off. I said, okay. It wins best dish in America. It won best dish in America. That's the difference between a chef knowing what he sees and the vision of it, mm-hmm. and playing it safe.
Yeah.
And that was great. And it was on the menu for 30 years. It used to be $19. And as soon as it won the award, it was $29, $30. And it was a fun, and I'm glad I stuck to my guns because I was adamant about it. And then we opened a few Smith & Wollensky's around the country with those guys. And then I made some money. I went on my own, and I opened David Burke and Donatello, where I owned half of that business. Then I started running my own business, lost some of it, mm-hmm. got some of it back. You win some, you lose some. It's really, even good operators close restaurants.
It's a tough, I sometimes really wonder how does a restaurant succeed between the transient nature of employees, the cost of rents, the cost of food, the fluctuating labor. There are so many
all the
factors.
Insurances, weather, economy, all of this stuff. Everything. Some people have a formula.
The rainy nights bring more people out or not? Or is there any?
Depends on where you are. Huh. But then you have deliveries now.
Right.
So you look at diners, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a Jersey guy. Diners were a big thing.
Yep.
Right. You went after you were partying. You went after work. You went late at night. The diner was open. You kind of knew what you were going to get. What's what you got? You know why?
Yeah.
Because you can get food delivered to your house late at night. You can go through a drive-through until 1 a.m, and people don't want to get out of their car anymore.
I'll be driving. I never tied that together, but it's true.
You can get food sent to your house any time of the night now, and you can go through a drive-through at McDonald's or one of those.
But see, you can't do what I did when I was a kid in high school. You can't cut church and stay at home and order food. You had to cut church and go to a diner.
That's a great diner. Me and my buddy Okie, we had this great diner scheme. We used to hang out. There was a couple diners, and at least 4 of them in our town. So he'd go into a diner at the counter. Talk about a winter night, right?
Yeah.
And sit at the counter, and he'd order a burger and fries and a milkshake or whatever. And I'd come in and sit 4 seats away, didn't talk to him. And I'd order a cup of coffee. And then when he walked past me, we switched checks. So he'd go pay for the coffee right at the cash register. And I'd get my bill, and I'd be like, what is this? I only had a coffee. And then we'd go to the next diner. I'd go in and get the burger. People catch on to that pretty quick. Being 16 years old. Those are the good old innocent days of trying to get a hot meal in.
Now, as a restaurateur, is it an investor game? Like, do you try to find your pool of investors when you have an idea? Do they come to you? Do they say, we need a chef? Which is it, the chicken or the egg?
It happens both ways.
Both ways.
Sometimes an opportunity comes by. Sometimes your customer's like, here's my card. If you I love my food, love your food. If anything comes up, look for an investor for it. Uh-huh. But, not all investors are the same either. Some investors are, they want to make money all the time, and you don't always make money. Sometimes you got to weather a storm. It should be it shouldn't be a primary source of your income investing in restaurants. Mm-hmm. It's a vanity job of investment sometimes, and sometimes you do well. And if you're honest and you're working hard and things are going well, you'll make some money. Mm-hmm. But so sometimes it's done that way, and sometimes a developer or a guy who owns a hotel or an inn or a building will be like, I want Burke in my building. Mm-hmm. For example, I'm going to Puerto Rico on Saturday to look at a property. The guy's like, I ate in your restaurants. I like what you do. I have a location in my hotel. I'd like you to put one of your restaurants here. So we'll fly down, take a look at it. We're opening a big restaurant in North Palm Beach Gardens in 2 months. Developer built a huge high-rise, great guy, called me down, made a deal 3.5 years ago, and this is going to be special. And Some of it happens that way, but that's only happens when you have a brand, when you've worked hard and have proven yourself that
you've done a great job building a brand.
Takes a lot.
How do you? What would you tell someone younger about, who wants to become a chef, who wants to reach the pinnacles you keep hitting and raising?
One of the things I find interesting is the lack of focus on impressing the customer. Okay?
Interesting.
My goal has always been to impress the guest and impress myself and impress my colleagues, right? But not some people want to cook to impress their colleagues. I impress the guest. That's my paycheck. I want to impress the guest. I don't, I care what other chefs think and this and that. I think that's one thing. I want to impress them too at a certain point in your career. But after that, the people that pay me are my people that eat in my restaurant. Right? So you got to impress them and give them what they want. Now, so everything can't be your way or the highway either. But a lot of the younger people, and the industry has changed, and the social media has changed it, and Instagram. When you wanted to learn something when I was young, you had to go work for it.
Right.
You didn't just Google it. You went and you worked at the best restaurants, and you paid your dues, and you worked, and you figured out, okay. I remember working at the best restaurants in France. I volunteered, worked for free. I was lucky to even get a foot in there. And when I saw the photos in the books, I have 1,200 cookbooks, none of which I've bought in the last 15 years. So I had a lot of books when I was young. And one day I'm standing next to two of the chefs whose books I've had, who I thought to me were like the culinary gods. And they were. And I said, they got 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 eyes, just like me. They're just like me. I'm just like them. I just don't have the experience that they have. But they're not tall. They're not, it's not basketball.
Right.
It's not weightlifting. I don't need to be a certain size to be able to do what they do. I'm a smart guy, and I got stamina, and I can work hard. Now all I need is the experience. And you look at it and say, it's so true.
I love that.
It's like, you're not born a chef. You're not born because your grandmother was a good cook doesn't mean anything, right?
It's got to be some kind of deep passion.
100%. But there is a passion, there's a skill set, but it's also a study. You need to study food.
Oh, yeah.
You need to understand why are we putting applesauce on a pork chop and nothing else in the world? Explain that to me. Like, why applesauce exists for a pork chop? It doesn't go on spare ribs. It doesn't go on bacon. It doesn't go on pulled pork. Right?
Who made that decision?
Don't know, but I want to. But I will crack. You will see me put applesauce on a salmon one day. Oatmeal's another thing. I want to make oatmeal sexy. That's my T-shirt.
Oatmeal, so I would kind of like that.
No, but it's boring. Oatmeal just has one purpose for breakfast.
Right.
So I made goat meal out of goat milk, goat cheese. I made chocolate oatmeal. People are like, chocolate oatmeal? I'm like, why is that so hard for you to think about? Right? Like, what else can you do with oatmeal besides cookies? But an oatmeal cookie isn't even oatmeal. Right? Just that oatmeal. It's like porridge. Like, how do you make that? Like risotto.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why wouldn't it be? But again, I can't
Interesting.
fix everything. So you start to, when I get an idea in my head, I can't let go of it for a while. Like, it dances around in my head for months. Like,
you clearly are very creative.
It's like there's 1,000 Post-it notes in your head, and you start pulling them down and collecting them and saying, okay. If this was a crystal plate with a dome on it, I'd be thinking about what would be nice in there. So you see objects, you see seasonality, you see a new product, you see a colored plate or a square one. Listen, there was a time when every plate I put food on was round and had a metal lid. Right? The canvas was always the same. Now the canvas is different. I can serve something on a board, a brick, a salt block, piece of metal, a backwards license plate. Right? Think about prison food on a license plate. And you call it, served with prisoner wine, right? It would just be a great little connectivity. It could be a lobster roll in a bag on a license plate, and Prisoner's a good one.
You could have made it in a lot of careers. I mean, because you're CEO. You've got the math down. You're creative. You could have, you're clearly a marketer.
Right. Well, marketing I learned. Marketing I can do.
But you start your marketing from the product. Just to mention Prisoner wines and a license plate in the same breath is pretty funny.
It's connectivity, right? It's kind of to me that's a natural thing, and that's what happened. But I do that with recipes all the time, and I do that with there's a pun involved,
like your
sense of humor,
your bacon you serve
on the clothesline.
Yeah, on the clothesline with the scissors.
Yep, that's all over the world now.
That was one of the more creative things I've ever seen. And the scent of it with the rosemary.
Yeah, but there's a reason. See, that came by mistake, too.
So
I was doing...
Describe that to everyone who's not seeing it at the moment. So
I'll tell you what I did first. I was doing an event in Vegas. I was in New York. My sous chefs were down there. And we were going to do this, 500 people. The big events, you walk around, there's 20 chef tables. And so I said, I want you to put, we're going to roast 100 ducks or 50, whatever it was. And I said, steal 3 or 4 of the, the luggage racks from the bellman, with the, put the hangers on. And we're going to hang the ducks with hangers like Chinatown in the window. And we're going to blowtorch them, and all that fat's going to come off the duck and go. We're going to have big pans of fried rice. And then we made fruit paper out of mango and hoisin sauce.
Oh, my gosh.
And then
how
we put
creative.
a little fried rice and a sliced duck, and we were going to hand out the little, like a Peking duck.
Yeah.
And but instead of the flour, the Peking wrapper, we're going to use this fruit thing. So I get a call like, Chef Houston, we have a problem. He's like, Chef, the paper's sticky. It won't dry. It's too much sugar in it,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I said, I'm going to fly down. I said, you got about 8 hours. I said, go get some, the towel racks. You buy those things, you dry towels on.
Oh, yeah.
They're like wooden.
Yep.
I said, go get 4 or 5 of those and lay the fruit roll-ups on that and get fans, put them on the table, and get some blow dryers and start drying them out. And they were doing it. And it was working. So now we have all these ducks and we got fans. And we have blow dryers back there, and it's a yellow paper and purple paper from the hoisin. Beautiful.
And you're torching the ducks.
And the ducks were there. It stole the show. And we had clothespins came with the racks.
Yeah.
So we started closing the taco, the little.
Oh, with the clothespin.
I was serving it, and it was people like genius. I'm like, yeah, that's me. No. And it worked. And we were sitting after that night having some wine. It was a brutal day. And I said, if we could only do that at the table, I said, you can't put a whole duck at the table and have the fat. And I'm like, bacon. Bacon has a lot of fat, and that fat dripping down. And it also makes sense because the bacon, now you render it, the pickles underneath, the roast. So what we do is we make a little wooden clothesline. It looks like a field goal post with a wire, and we connect the bacon with clothespins. And that's and we use the scissors.
Yeah.
And you eat it with the clothespin is like the new chopstick. Boy, was that a great idea. But one thing led to another. Now, if I didn't sit there and think about it for a few days about how good that duck was and how do we convert that into something great that everybody can experience at a table, then because we don't let go of something.
Right.
Something that's going to be impressive is impressive. I have when I was studying pastry in France, you know what a Petits Fours is, right?
Yes.
What is it?
It's those little tiny, looks like a little cake, right?
Yeah. It means small oven.
Oh,
That's
really?
the literal translation.
I didn't know that.
So I'm in pastry school, and I'm converting everything. The centigrade to Fahrenheit, all this grams to this, and what each word with Petits Fours means small oven.
I didn't know that.
Like Forno's ovens means Forno is an oven. So four is an oven.
How did they get to be called when you serve them?
Because the translation is small baked items.
Oh.
Right, so small things from the oven. It's just the way things translate. Yeah. But in America, there's cast iron stoves.
Yeah.
You ever see them like little toy stoves that made of cast? Those were what a salesman would bring to your house before Sears had its first catalog. People used to buy their stoves from a catalog. If you lived 100 miles from a city, a salesman would go out there. He'd have a big suitcase.
I remember the Sears Roebuck
He would have 6 little cast iron stoves, and you chose one for your house. It was called a salesman sample. So I went and bought a bunch of those because I'm like, Petits Fours. So I'm going to serve my Petits Fours on a small Petits Fours. Yes, it was great. Now we put cinnamon sticks in it.
Priceless.
And we blew the cinnamon sticks with a blowtorch, smoked. So now I'm at the River Cafe, I'm young. But the chance of doing that took cojones. Because everyone's like, what is he thinking? And Gail Green, who was a great food
Oh, yeah.
she's like, Chef David Burke is dangling from a cinnamon stick across the river with these concoctions. But to me, it's one of the greatest things I've ever come up with. Now, I had 12 of the stoves. I used to buy them, and the pieces would break. And I do it sometimes on a special occasion. I go buy a couple stoves on eBay, and I have a few of them. But that is the type of thinking that has helped me be successful, of connecting dots that would make somebody say, why didn't I think of that?
It's showmanship, too.
Showmanship.
It's not just taste good. It's you bring this showmanship.
It's the cleverness of it, and but it's a lot of extra work. I mean, got to go the extra mile. And like myself, and I tell some of the young chefs, like they ask, well, how do you do it? Take the hard road. Mm-hmm. Don't take the easy road. Take the hard road. Shovel your neighbor's sidewalk if you're shoveling yours, which my father used to make me do. Mm-hmm. He's like, when do you shove the hole? I said, no. He's like, Mrs. Smith lives next door. She's older. Shovel her sidewalk too. And I'd be like, bullshit. He's like, bullshit? He goes, you're going to be old one day and you might not be able to do it. So I always had this mentality of like, just do it. Mm-hmm. Do the extra work and do it above. Because in order to be better than the restaurant down the street, you're going to have to do something extraordinarily different, because especially now we can all get the same things on Google. We can all and there's a lot of what we call cover band chefs. They play somebody else's dishes.
Oh yeah,
and they get credit or they just coast along on that way. So to be original and unique in what you do is really, that's where the talent comes in, and people at the higher level know that. Mm-hmm. But again, and to the credit to some of the chefs that are playing cover band dishes, is that they'll never catch the creative ones. Mm-hmm. I worked for Singapore Airlines years ago. I was their consultant chef. And I said to the CEO one day, this was in the 90s, I said, don't you get tired of getting copied? And he goes, great question. He goes, we love getting copied. I'm like, because, as a chef, I get pissed off if somebody steals my dish. He goes, we love getting copied because they'll never beat us if they're waiting for us to copy us. He goes, we'll always be ahead because they're waiting for us they want to copy us because they're not ahead of the curve. Point. Yeah.
I just read a quote by, I think it was the head of the Louis Vuitton brand. And they said, when people walk in with the fake version, we never critique them for it. We viewed them as aspirational customers.
Okay.
And then a fund manager that I knew one time said, Diane, I used to think of it as idle gossip. Now I recognize it as idol worship. What? A flip on the word.
What?
And it really is a way of somebody saying, I'm not that creative, but boy, I appreciate that he is.
But they're walking advertisement for you. The same as
they're a walking advertisement for you.
I was in Spain, in Lisbon, I'm sorry. I got off a cruise ship. And Time Out magazine is in Spain, and there was a picture of my Clothesline bacon on the inside cover of a restaurant that was serving it. So I went with a woman who speaks Portuguese, and we went. And and they serve it on the ship because I write the menus for the ship. So it's on the ship too. So she said to the manager of the restaurant, "By the way, this is Chef David Burke who created that bacon." He's like, "Yeah, okay." Like no way, and that's just so. Yes, there's pride there, but food is meant to be shared, and it's going to get copied. The fact that somebody copied a dish of mine around the world is great, and there's not only one dish. I have many dishes, and the cake pops, and I got a patent on this thing. So that creativity exists and sometimes I create a dish because it was a mistake of another dish or it came from something else. I will tell you something. I used to have a diet product now. It was flavored water, basically, with bacon, artificial bacon flavor, in water with a couple other shelf-stable ingredients. And you sprayed bacon on your eggs. Fat-free, cow-free, carb-free, diabetic-friendly. Birthday cake, strawberry shortcake, bacon, cheese, blue cheese, tomatoes, basil, all this stuff. We had 30 flavors. And I wanted to get dry aged beef flavor, which is a fermented beef that you got to put your meat in a cooler for 40 days or whatever. and there's a lot of waste, evaporation and all that. So long story short, I gave a big hunk of prime rib to a guy that was aged and said, analyze it at the lab in Jersey and come back. And he gave me powdered form of that flavor, which didn't work, didn't translate. He said, it's too hard. There's too many different flavor compounds in this meat. Because you got fresh meat, you got dry meat, you got blood, you got fresh blood, you got amino acids, enzymes. He goes, but the hardest thing ever analyzed. It's like perfume factory.
Yeah.
I said, well, why? He goes, the weirdest thing is the number one flavor in the meat you gave me was cardboard. I said, what? Cardboard. I said, you gotta be shitting me. So I get busy, I'm thinking about it. I won't let it go. Right. Cardboard. So I go in my cooler the next day. Cardboard's all over the floor of that cooler. And all I had in that cooler was meat. That's a dry aging box. The meat has to be left alone. No fish, no onions. Because the meat, the water evaporates from the meat, it absorbs the flavor, whatever's in the room. So the cardboard had enough aroma and scent or flavor that it went in the meat. So I'm like, well, I'll be goddamn. So then I had,
and I could believe that.
So I had this big salt blocks on my desk because people send me stuff because they know I'm creative. What can you do in a Himalayan salt block? This is back in the 90s. I'm like, I'm going to build a salt wall in that cooler, and the salt is going to go in the meat now. And season the thick steak. But what happened was the salt killed the bad bacteria, let the good bacteria grow, and I got a U.S. patent.
You have that in one of your restaurants here in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we use the salt for decor, but the patent is a real thing, and it came from a mistake of one thing. But if you're not in the game asking the questions, you're not going to learn.
It's amazing how you figured that out.
Right.
I mean, and it's intuitively. I was running around and I was going someplace. I'm like, oh, I know the butcher sells fresh mozzarella.
Right.
So I bought this chunk of fresh mozzarella from the butcher, and that night we're eating it. I'm like, I can never buy fresh mozzarella from the butcher again because it just tasted like raw meat to me.
Oh,
so it was really funny how it was wrapped, but it
probably was in the same. The iron.
Something that you would know better.
No, the smell of red meat cells, right? Yeah. Well, that's what happens. You can't keep stuff
so funny
in your home fridge.
Cardboard.
You can, but your home fridge things move quick.
Yeah.
Cardboard. And I say that I said yes. I was at least smart enough to look into creating something. One thing, and I'm sure there's many things that have happened that way.
Yeah.
Same as the vaccines and stuff and. Penicillin was developed. Some guy left something in his jacket pocket. No, but a doctor left something. There's a great book I read by a guy. His name was Eric. I forget his last name. The mold in Dr. So-and-so's pocket. That's how it was. He left something in his pocket and got moldy. And that's how they created the
penicillin.
The penicillin,
yeah. Yeah.
But so that's the fun stuff too, the connectivity and the ahas. And they're like, but now with technology and all this, food moves quick. The other thing, like I'm still a student. I still learn. Like I'm into it. I travel, I learn. I go out to eat. I'm learning something. I want to learn something.
Do you have a favorite food genre?
It's a tough question. It's easier to tell you what I don't like.
Okay, what don't you like?
Well, I don't. That's a hard one too.
I don't like okra.
I don't like okra.
No matter what you do to it, I don't like okra.
I've had
it's the only food I can think of.
I don't like tripe.
Oh, I never tried that. I just can't handle the idea of it either.
I like all the other inside weird stuff. I'm not a big anchovy guy either, but
me neither. I have enough.
I can
salt
have it in
bones.
dressings and all that, but to eat, you know why? I had a girlfriend in high school, and we were drinking some terrible beer, I guess, and she put like 30 anchovies on a slice of pizza, and gave it to me. And I was like, it's like your first hangover. You still taste it. I like good Asian food. Not sushi. I like sushi, but good Chinese food I like a lot.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
I can cook anything, but I like to cook things whole. Like a whole duck, a whole turkey, a whole fish, a whole pork. Because we don't do that in the restaurant. We make portions. Right. So when I can cook something at home or outdoors on a spit, there's something festive about that.
So if you're cooking Christmas dinner, what's getting served?
Beef. Pasta.
Okay.
Clams. Probably some shellfish or seafood, maybe a lasagna. Popovers.
Oh.
Definitely
That's an art form.
Eggnog, milkshakes, served under the mistletoe.
My mouth is watering and puckering up at the same time.
And smoked salmon. I mean, see, chefs, we work holiday, so holiday meal for us is really, we love eating at home. At least I do. Even people like, oh, I wouldn't know what to make. I'm like, you know what?
Will you cook at home?
I'll cook at home, yeah. I did during the pandemic for the first time in my career. I never really cooked at home. Because I've been working since a teenager, so I would never cook at home. Even my kids, I got divorced very young, so even at home cooking, I worked a lot. So I'd make breakfast, maybe a barbecue. Last thing I want to do at my day off is cooking them. But during the pandemic, I started cooking with a puppet. I have a puppet that's a miniature version of me. And him and I, during the pandemic, were teaching people how to cook for your neighbors. Like, instead of cooking one chicken, go buy 2 chickens. Make chicken soup out of this, and then this, and then you have leftovers. His name was Lefto, the puppet. He's got his Instagram is lefto.db.com. I took him on a cruise ship last week in Iceland. And we went to one of John George's restaurants in Dublin or Belfast, I forget. And so I'm with another guy, another chef, and so I take the puppet out. I put him on his own chair. Fancy restaurant, right? I put a champagne in front of him and a piece of octopus. And everyone in the room was just like, that's pretty cool. It's a little weird. But you know what? But you need a sense of humor with food, too. And I've always been able to add that seriousness about, like the Petits Fours is a sense of humor, but it's serious. And if you have a little bit of sense of humor with the naming of a dish, whether it's, Angry Lobster. We had a vegetable tour. When I opened Park Avenue Cafe in 1992, we had a huge kitchen. It used to be a hotel. And we had a beautiful menu and a swordfish chop, which is trademark. And the first order is a vegetable plate. I'm like, we're not ready for that, right? This is 90s. You didn't put vegetarian dishes on yet. There was no gluten-free. There was no peanut allergies. So I'm like, oh, shit. So we got to run around and get vegetables from everybody's station, the fish guy, the meat guy, the salad, make a vegetable platter or whatever. And that goes. And next night, same thing, 5 o'clock, a vegetable plate. I'm like, and 3-4 days in a row, I'm like, who is this woman? Oh, that's Mrs. Asher. She lives upstairs. I'm like, okay. So I designed this cake made of vegetables, polenta, spinach, and onion, a layer cake.
Yeah.
Ring mold. And I'm like, okay, we're going to put that on the menu. When we get a veg plate, you put it in a steamer, you steam it, take the mold off, and it looks like a cake, but it's all vegetables. Beautiful. Yellow pepper vinaigrette, red pepper. And I had the top with carrot. It looked like a cake.
Yeah.
But it was substantial. Like vegetarians are like, I got a dish made for me. It's not a bunch of little pieces of vegetables. So I'm writing the menu. I'm like, well, what's the lady's name again? Mrs. Asher. So I write in the menu, Mrs. Asher's vegetable torte. Like, you know what? Stop busting my chops. She loved it. This woman loved it. 30 years later, my mother calls me up and she goes, do you know what? Now, I'm long gone.
Do you know a Mrs. Asher?
You know Mrs. Asher? I said, yes. She goes, well, her son is my doctor. I'm like...
That is great.
Yep. But, she must have told 1,000 people.
Oh, I bet.
For her son to know, right? Well, he probably lived in the building at the time. I mean, who knows? But there's a credit there, and that's hospitality. Hospitality sometimes get lost in the restaurant business. And if you think back in the older days, the owner, like Caserio, Drew Neaperon, Tony May, some of these, they were at the front. They were the maestros. They gave you the hospitality. They remembered your name, what you drank, who you didn't want to sit next to, who you did. There was art to the maitre d' and the owner, and they were the face of the business.
Yeah.
Chefs kind of took over because they control the money and the quality of the food. And that's kind of how it happened. But that hospitality with knowing when to buy a drink or when to give someone something. Someone comes in as a guest and is like, oh, well, he's not feeling well. I'm with my sister today. And that maitre d' packs a bag for him to take home. I go, here's a small steak sandwich for your husband. The disconnectivity of the chef in the dining room doesn't exist, so you need the communication. But that's the hospitality that gets missed in certain restaurants. Danny Meyer was a genius at it. right? Some of the other. So if you don't, true hospitality comes in many forms, and it's not on Instagram. It's the personal touch, which you'll never be changed, right? They got loyalty programs, but being able to read a table and read somebody what they want, and overhear someone say, well, we never really had this. It's our last day in New York, and making that happen. Or overhearing us at their anniversary and surprising them, not having them say, oh, by the way, then you got on the other hand, someone says, they make a res and say it's my birthday, and you forget to put a candle, and they blast you the kingdom. But
oh my gosh, this time goes too quick, but I need a wrap up from you. Okay. What are your words of wisdom?
Are we done already?
Isn't it hard to believe it's the fastest 55 minutes on the planet? And this has been so fascinating. I've been speaking with Chef David Burke and loving every minute of it. What's your takeaway for the future for the restaurant business? Where you're going? What should we be watching for you? Because you are a creative mass of energy.
I got a couple more projects in the works, and I want to land myself with a cooking school.
A cooking school?
I want to do education at the latter part of my career. Either in a community college or a cooking school that I can talk and educate and be able to inspire young chefs.
You would be priceless with that because you're so entertaining and captivating. I feel like at this whole interview, I just kept leaning closer because I want to hear more of what you say because you're a great storyteller, which is what I thought the first time I met you.
I have been very fortunate to start young with some of the old master chefs.
Yeah.
So I learned the classic way of cooking, the old French method, heavy sauces, creams, butchery, all that stuff. And the reasons why applesauce goes to pork chop. We didn't even get to it.
I know.
Right? And they don't.
We're gonna have to do this again.
They don't teach that. You have to teach yourself certain things. They don't teach Michael Jordan how to shoot a ball. They teach him, but they don't perfect it.
Right.
So you got to be inquisitive. You got to ask the whys and why nots. And and I think it's important to test kids, young adults about thinking about food, the whys and why nots, and like not settling. And many cultures did it for a long time. They'll still say, "Oh, we don't do that in Dominican Republic. That's how we do it." Or in Irish food, that's how we do it. Or Italians, we never do that. Well, that doesn't mean never. Don't ever say never. There's a reason for everything, and there's a reason that you don't have to do it, or a reason you can keep doing it, but there's also probably a better way. I'll give you a good example. There's this breadcrumb that comes on the market 20 years ago from Japan. It's called Henko.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever heard of it, right?
Yeah.
Big, thick breadcrumbs, right? Right? Think about it. Japanese breadcrumbs, and people are paying extra money for Japanese breadcrumbs. When was the last time you got served a roll in a Japanese restaurant? Where the hell are they getting
those? Good point.
Right? So they design a breadcrumb to mimic tempura. It's a flaky, big crumb so we can bread it and fry it and at least have the texture of tempura. And brilliant idea. But I always say, Italian breadcrumbs, I get it. French breadcrumbs, I get it. Japanese? like George Carlin would say when he's a comedian, but he's like, he goes, when I was a kid, we never had bottles of water. We walked from hose to hose, water fountain, creeks. We found, we'd unplug a fucking fire hydrant. He goes, everyone walks around with water like they're going to dehydrate. So you got to make fun of it a little bit. Like, what a great idea. But why would I advertise Japanese breadcrumbs? But that's what we don't stop and think about it. So you stop and think about it, and then it helps you be creative, to me.
You are too much fun. What? Can we do this again?
100%.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Good to see you.
I am so glad we did this. Yep. My guest has been Chef David Burke. There are going to be all kinds of ways you can stay in touch with him below this video or audio, whichever way you're listening to this. Thank you so much.
So nice to see you.
What fun. And hit subscribe and definitely follow David on Instagram or wherever you follow things. Check out his restaurants. Follow what he's doing because I think we're just at exploring the tip of an iceberg that's just going to be explosive as he keeps going. Thank you.
Thank you.